Right. Now it's time for us to get into this discussion, which you are waiting for. To moderate the discussion, I invite Mr. Mukul Gupta, Director at Shakumbari Expo Impo Limited, a company established in 1996 as one of the oldest sesame hullers and exporters from India. Mr. Mukul joined the business in 2000, and for the last 21 years, he has seen the industry expand and evolve from a simple commodity to a complex food safety product with wide usage and reach. At Shakumbari, the company believes, and I think, Mr. Mukul Gupta himself believes in Kaizen, Japanese word for change for the better or continuous improvement. So that is a brief introduction about the moderator of the session on global sesame market trends and outlook. Mr. Gumukul Gupta would be joined by 7 eminent panelists, and I'm going to present a brief introduction about each of them as I request them to join. The first presenter would present on Japanese sesame market, Mr. Tomohisa Fujimoto-san. He's the team leader, sesame seeds, animal fats, fish fat team at Mitsui and Company Limited. He has been with the Sesame World since 2014. And sesame seed is a typical food for Japanese. So Mitsui's mission is safety and sustainability, sustainable supply chain, so that they can cater to the Japanese market. With that introduction, I welcome Mr. Tomohisa Fujimoto-san. The second speaker would be Mr. David Buttrey, the founder and CEO of Global Grains and Ingredients Limited, a business-to-business supplier of a range of natural food products and ingredients to the European food market and industry. Mr. David Buttrey has been deeply involved in natural products, including sesame seed, for over 30 years and has traveled extensively around the world to focus on sesame seed production and processing. Welcome, Mr. David Buttrey. The third speaker would be a speaker from India, Mr. Mihir Parmar, from partner at Mamta Commodities India. Mamta Commodities is one of the oldest and most reputed sourcing companies based out of India, specializing in sesame seeds. Mr. Mihir, in a short span of time, has established himself as one of the trusted names in the sesame industry across a variety of origin and destination markets. He is going to present on an interesting subject, India as a destination market. Welcome, Mr. Mihir. The fourth speaker would be Mr. Alper Onel, Director, Origin Agro, Istanbul. He's been based out of Istanbul, Turkey since 2003. He's a bachelor degree in economics from Turkey and an MBA from Bournemouth Business College, UK. A well-known broker in the field, Alper has over 20 years of experience in global agro, soft commodities, and sesame. He has given several talks on sesame seeds and addressed a large number of audiences around the world. Many of his articles and interviews were published in economic channels and newspapers. In addition to that, Mr. Alper Onel established a sesame processing facility in Istanbul in 2008 and continues its activity with determination till date. The fifth speaker, welcome, Mr. Alper. We would look forward to, I saw your presentation and it is full of data. I'm sure people would love to listen to you. The fifth presenter is Mr. K.S. Prakash. He's currently the director and partner of Hakan Foods, DMCC, Dubai, UAE. Mr. Prakash is a master's degree in business administration with an experience of about 29 years in the field of agricultural products trading, including sesame seed. Mr. K.S. Prakash was business unit director of Hakan Agro Group for 24 years and was heading Sesame Products Division of Hakan Agro Group till recently. Mr. Prakash has started a new company, Hakan Foods DMCC, during March 2021, along with 2 other partners for the purposes of trading in oil seeds, pulses, and spices. He has got vast experience in the field of sesame trading, and today he would talk about Middle East markets and also the demand side of Turkey sesame market. Our sixth speaker would be Mr. Yasser Mohammed Abugelail, Quality Manager of Safe Herbs and Spice Company, Egypt. They are an Egyptian exporting company of oil seeds and herbs. The company sells conventional, organic, IAS, fair trade sesame seeds. In Egypt, there are typically two types of sesame, golden as well as white. The company is located in the city of Fayoum, which is also called Green Oasis. The company, Mr. Yasser's forefathers have been cultivators of sesame seeds from 18th century. That's fantastic. Even till date, they have 250 acres of farm wherein they cultivate sesame, and they are expanding every year. The quality of Egyptian sesame seed, in the opinion of Mr. Yasser, is superior compared to other sesame seeds, and therefore there is always a big demand for Egyptian sesame seeds. The company, Safe Herbs, also have their production facility and offers Sortex quality. The factory is certified for ISO 22000 and are in the process of getting registered under BRC certification scheme. The last speaker is Ms. Jane Zheng. She's a sesame trader from ETG Group. She's joined the ETG Group in 2019 and she operates ETG China Sesame business based out of the port, that is Shengdao, China. 5 years she has got experience in sesame industry and she's very, very familiar with China sesame players, including traders, processors, distributors, and got a very good insight of global supply and demand and China's domestic demand. And therefore, we had requested her to present on the demand side of China. Yesterday, we saw the supply side of China. Today, we would hear from Ms. Jane Zheng, the demand side of China sesame market. Ms. Zheng is a graduate from China Ocean. Sorry for the disturbance. Ms. Jane is graduated from China Ocean University with a master's degree. That's all 7 panelists for you. Now, with this introduction, I hand over the session to Mr. Mukul Gupta. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vatsa, for this honor again. It's indeed a very organized and a very experienced panel we have in front of us, right from Japan, the land of rising sun, all the way to UK, where the sun never sets. Yep, it's going to be interesting. But before I introduce the first speaker, let me just say you've done a fantastic job of getting Mr. Muthu online. And to hear his words were, I mean, it just filled my chest with pride about having a brand in India that is so big and loved throughout the world for their traditional food. And the passion which he has for his brand is amazing. And we hope he can mentor a lot of other people to do the same for the country. Moving on now to the first speaker, we have Mr. Tomohisa Fujimoto from Mitsui and Company Limited, Japan. Welcome to the panel, sir, and you're the first speaker, so the stage is yours. Please take over. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind attendance. So this is Mr. Fujimoto from Mitsui Corporation. So thank you so much for giving a great opportunity today. So today I would like to explain about Japanese market and challenges of sesame seed. So please move to the next page. So firstly, I would like to explain about the Japanese import quantity. This table is from 2006 to 2021. But this year is as of August, because September date is not opened. So as you seen that Japanese average import quantity is around 116 to 117,000 metric ton annually. So, but recently, sesame seed, sesame oil demand is growing up. So, especially sesame oil consumption is good. So, under COVID-19 situation, Japanese people who are eating not outside. Mainly, we are eating in home cooking. So, sesame oil makes rich flavor and taste easily. So that's why sesame oil consumption is growing up since recent 2 years. So in Japanese market, the ratio of crushing and edible grade is 6% and 40%. So you can understand that Japanese market is majority sesame oil. And Japanese market prefer stable supply. So we don't purchase, how to say, all of the season from January to December. So we don't purchase only May, only June, only July. It means we understand market price is maybe bottom, but we cannot buy bottom price. So Japanese market likes to purchase sustainability. So because Japanese manufacturers are managing the stock by themselves. So usually, like us, a trading company does not have own position. So that's why a Japanese trading company makes offer mostly every day to Japanese customer. Then Japanese customer decided to purchase day by day. And each edible sesame manufacturer have own preferred origin. So one company likes Nigeria origin, but one company doesn't like Nigeria origin. Paraguay origin likes some guys, some companies. So we have to explain and we have to propose all of origin, such as Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Sudan, Ethiopia, Paraguay, Guatemala to Japanese market. Then Japanese market decided to purchase which origin is better for themselves. So please go ahead, next page. So this pie chart is which origin Japanese has buying at 2020. So as you see that majority is from Nigeria at 2020, 37%. So secondary is Burkina Faso, 30%. The fourth is from Tanzania. So main origin is from African country. So because mostly used for crushing grade. But edible grade is also buying from Nigeria and Burkina Faso recently. So Japanese market supply top 4 is Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Tanzania, Mozambique, which is used for mainly crushing purpose mainly. From Paraguay, Ethiopia, Myanmar, and Guatemala are used for edible mainly. So this picture is sesame oil, as you see that. But recently, Japanese, how to say, edible manufacturer is also growing up and expand their production lineup. So that's why Japanese sesame market is growing up year by year. So please proceed to next page. So I would like to explain how to use in Japanese market. So sesame seed is a typical food for Japanese. So sesame is eaten by sesame oil, roasted sesame, and the ground sesame, and the paste. Paste means tahini. So firstly, we imported sesame seed. Then we sold to crushing company and the edible company. So as you see that crushing grade spec is purity 98% max, and oil content is 52% minimum. So edible grade spec is purity 99.5% more. So that means it's edible grade require and need to good high purity and a good whitish appearance. But crushing grade does not take care of color. So purity is 98% max and it does not need to take care of appearance. So as I explained previously, under COVID-19, HoReCa demand is declined, but home cooking demand is increased. So recent 2 years, Japanese sesame oil manufacturers sales situation seems good. So firstly, classing grade is making sesame oil and the sesame meal. So as you know that sesame oil content is around 15 to 52%. So it means 48 to 50% is sesame meal. So sesame oil is using for retail and food manufacture in Japanese market. And the sesame meal is used for feed food mainly. Feed food for, like how to say, for broiler and pigs food. So we also, Mitsui Corporation is also dealing sesame meal for feed food, for feed company of Japanese. So edible grade is production produced for roasted sesame and ground sesame and the paste tahini. So we are eating almost 3 variety of edible grade. Then all sesame manufacturers supply to retail and manufacture. So as you've seen, this picture is top of picture is noodle, chili noodle with tahini and roasted and ground sesame seed. And the second picture is rice bowl with roasted sesame seed with white sesame and black sesame. And third picture is sesame dressing. So recent years, sesame oil, sesame dressing consumption is growing up. That's why edible sesame manufacturers buying quantity is also going up. So sesame oil, sesame dressing is a good market in Japanese market and Thailand and South Asia market is also. And bottom picture is sesame seed with spinach. It is a Japanese traditional food. So please go ahead, next page. So this chart is import statistics of 2021 and 2020. So top of table is this year, and the bottom table is 2020. So 2020 imported around 200,000 metric ton annually in Japanese market, which quantities may be record quantity. So mainly from Nigeria and Burkina Faso and Tanzania and Mozambique, then Paraguay. So it is main origin for Japanese market. So 2021 as of August. So number one is Nigeria, but secondary is Mozambique, Guatemala, because Tanzania and the Mozambique season has not come. So most cargo will be arrived from September, October, November. So as you see that, as of August 2021, total import quantity is around 19,000 metric ton. But last year, 2020, as of August, import quantity is almost 130,000 metric ton. So that means it's 34% short against last year in this crop. So it means everyone understands there is a container shortage and the shipping delay, and from African to Japanese port should be through transit port like Singapore, Beijing, Shanghai, Peking. So most of cargo has stuck in transit port. So we cannot control, but in fact, Japanese market little bit shortage of cargo against last year. And I have to explain that this year, Pakistan origin is growing up in Japanese market, which means same situation with Chinese market. So Pakistan origin growing up, and their price and their spec and the quality is a little bit growing up compared with previously. So please go ahead, next page. So next page is trade challenges in Japanese market. So Japanese market is deeply grateful for African supplier and all supplier for sustainable supply to Japanese market. But please kindly understand there are some issues in Japanese market. So today I would like to explain 4 issues. So number one is pesticide regulation. So everyone understands that Japanese sesame seed regulation is very, very strict. trading company and sesame oil, sesame edible manufacturer have to analyze after arrival cargo in order to make approved safety cargo. But sometimes some pesticide had detected from sesame seed. So of course, very, how to say, tough and difficult to control, manage this issue. But we think this solution is education to farmer and the local trader about correct usage of pesticide. So we and all trading company and sesame manufacturers visit to sesame field and the origin, then education about the pesticide. After that, some origin never detected pesticide. So it is our proposal, one of best solution. So next issue is quality issue. POD means a port of discharge in Japanese side. Analysis result is over spec frequency. Especially purity is over than 98% and oil is less than 52%. So Japanese trading company bears a cost of spec difference between fact and the spec. So standard spec is purity 98 and oil 52%. So we have to bear this different spec POD analysis result and the spec. So our one of solution is we understand under this COVID-19 session, African sand and the supply side factory control is very difficult and become tough. But please more pay attention to quality control. So because Japanese market need good and sustainable sesame seed from supply side. So we need more kind of supportive from African side and the supply side. So third issue is a PP back issue. So under Japanese Food Sanitation Act, designed and colored PP bag may be not allowed. So it is a risk of contamination of heavy metal from ink. So we understand designed and color bag is, how to say, more important to find each brand of supply side. But Japanese market want supplier to understand to use plain white PP bag for Japanese market. So it is the safest solution. It's not use designed and colored PP bag. So because if heavy metal will be detected from PP bag, we cannot use in Japanese market. Each quantity is even 1 BL, 10 BL, 20 BL. So we have to resell to third country. So please kindly understand to use white and plain PP bag. Then fourth issue is shipment delay. Same with other market, we understand. Most of cargo has delayed compared with last year and 2019 previously. So that's why this year, 2021, import quantity is less than 2020 and previously. So we understand under this COVID-19 session, it is uncontrollable about the container shortage and the shipment session. So we and the Japanese market and the Japanese customer require shipping supplier to share with shipping information more timely. So we have to control our inventory and the customers' production schedule. So we need supply side cooperation for understand and please inform the shipping session timely. So we need more and kindly supporting for Japanese market from supply side. So thank you so much for your kind attention. So we need more and kind support from supply side. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tomohisa-san. I have before we'll of course have a Q&A after the whole session, but just a small question that popped up in my mind while seeing your presentation. Very insightful indeed. But you said the import numbers this year are less than 2021 because of arrivals and shipment delays. Do you think we will be able, Japan will be able to match the same numbers till December, or this year you think it will be a short import overall?
I can say it will be shorter than last year.
Okay, it will be a shorter import than last year. So you are not in a hurry to cover right now. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Please stick around for the Q&A. And the next speaker we have with us is Mr. David Buttery from Global Grains Ingredients Limited. He's going to talk about EU. Yes, the hot topic EU everybody wants to know about and their demand, because that's a bread and butter. So over to you, Mr. Buttery, and please share some good insights and tell us where the demand is coming from now. Stage is all yours.
Thank you, Mukul. Thank you. So firstly, good morning and good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm from London here. So could I have the first slide, please? Okay, and perhaps the second. And so a brief introduction then. So yes, I'm based here in London. Global Grains and Ingredients is a business-to-business importer and trader and distributor of natural food ingredients, supplying throughout the EU marketplace. The lady you're seeing in front of you, perhaps you remember from a year ago, Mrs. Margaret Keenan. This is her receiving her booster COVID vaccine jab, 1 year after being the first person to receive a COVID vaccine. Next slide, please. Here are just a brief slide to show you how COVID is developing within the EU. So in 2020, in week 41, we're currently at a similar level of infection recorded here in the EU. This graph shows the EU infection rates across the past year. Next slide, please. Here I'd like to show you import values and tonnages into the EU from the past 5 or 6 years or so. And together in red there, the values of 2020's importations. So the volume is pretty much range bound around 130,000 tons, similar to the past few years. And the value this year of 2020 was down a little at 214 million euros. Next slide, please. Here's a table showing the import origins and their contribution to the EU demand in 2020. So India is still sitting at the top of the table with 59,000 tons coming into the EU in 2020. But an important change in the market here is how Turkey have increased their tonnages into the EU. China also increasing. In fact, all of the yellow highlighted numbers there are representing an increase in the previous year's contribution to the EU demand. Next slide, please. Just focusing here on 2019 and 2020 with, again, quantities, but this time adding values to the average importation into the EU. The highlighted green there shows the only origin that was able to increase its average price into the EU, which was Uganda. Congratulations to Uganda. And the next slide, please. Here we're just showing the dominance of India in the supply into the EU. But as we've just mentioned, in 2020, Turkey entered the Big Five as an importer, as an origin, delivering over 7,000 tons into the EU demand. So a change. And the next slide, please. Here I'm breaking down the tonnages imported by each of the dominant consuming nations within the EU, with Greece, Germany and the Netherlands. Of course, the Dutch are not quite consuming 22,000 tonnes themselves. It is a main entry port for distribution throughout the EU. And the next slide, please. Here is a very clear graphic of the impact of ETO coming from shipments received into the EU from India, and the sharp decline towards the end of 2020 and the first few months of 2021. And again, to the right of that, you can see a recovery beginning. India is recovering its position in the EU as an important and dominant supply line again. And we shall see how this develops through 2021. Next slide, please. Just focusing a little longer on that ETO experience for the EU and sharing some words here received from the EU Commission, specifically focusing on the EU DG Sante's reaction to the ETO crisis. That slide seems to have gone from my screen.
We'll just get it back to you, sir.
The presentation.
Just hold on for a moment, please.
Yes.
We'll just
look up for the presentation. That's okay.
Yeah. Just hold on for a minute.
Well, in the meantime, till your slides come back, David, I think the consumption numbers in EU remain very static despite COVID. I mean, is that in-house consumption that has sustained that kind of a demand? Because, of course, there was no tourism in that period. So is the bread and bakery sector concentrating more on the in-house demand at the moment?
So through the COVID and particularly the lockdowns throughout the EU, the number of places that access food obviously changed. Food became more accessible or more uniquely accessible through retail outlets. And some of the restaurants were asked to close, forced to close. But you're right, Mukul, the volume consumption imports at least have remained range-bound at circa 130,000 tonnes into the EU. So just returning now to the...
Yes, please take the presentation.
And the words here that were shared by the EU Commission. I hope you can see that. And I think India should take a lot of credit. The organisations, export organisations, the Indian government, to put in place a robust system to build confidence again in the EU marketplace and recover tonnages. Could I see the next slide, please? Yeah, here I'm just capturing some key developments within the EU and the requirements specific to sesame seed. So in July 2019, there was a regulation added that increased official controls on import. These were then supplemented with temporary increases in those official controls in October 2019. And these are the regulation numbers that you might like to Google and understand clearly. They're available on the EU website and the link is there shown below. And the most recent regulation, of course, it relates to ETO and is numbered 2020-1540. That web link will be transmitted later by the World Sesame Conference, I'm sure. Could we have the next slide, please? And here is the pesticide database and the regulations to enable imports, safe imports into the EU. So any exporter looking to serve The EU marketplace should be familiar with this database and be knowledgeable of the expectations of the EU market. The next slide, please. So here, just wanting to focus a little around how seed is being used and consumed. Here in the UK, there's been a definite increase in consumption of hummus. Tahini is certainly adding to the export potential of sesame seed. And I think this cross-pollination of international cuisines throughout Europe is providing opportunities for sesame. Obviously, the bakery industry and the ingredients sector are still very dominant in its demand for seed. And the pandemic impacts, as we mentioned earlier, the situation regarding COVID and restaurant closures did impact some consumption, but it seems that it was replaced with home baking or from fast food outlets that were able to operate. So going forward, we're seeing freight as a massive impact on cost to all EU importers, and I'm sure others around the world. But just to put some context there, an import from China, for example, is running at around $500 per ton just in freight, and an Indian import circa $380, $400. These are record freights for EU importers to be absorbing, and will impact stock levels and consumption rates amongst other more accessible and perhaps cheaper freight originated cargoes. Next slide, please. So just coming to a summary now. So EU demand broadly stagnant around 130,000 tons. The EU sesame has survived these some quality scares. It's clearly impacted some nations and their export potential. But we are also moving into a food marketplace where allergen concerns are gaining greater awareness, but they are creating opportunities also, where some products are being marketed as more actively as vegan or plant-based. And so within this area, there could be opportunities for sesame seed. Some other industries are actively promoting their crop to consumers. We've seen how the nut industry is very active in promoting consumption of almonds. The same is true of the dried fruit industry. And I'd like to see some more activity around this area for sesame. Could I have the next slide, please? So here's a thought. Here is our good friend Kipochi, gold medal winner in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games as a marathon runner representing Kenya. I wonder, could he be powered by sesame? That's the next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation, Murkel, and conference.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, I hope he is powered by Kipuchi, and maybe we can get him to be a brand ambassador for sesame seeds. Why not? That would be nice to have. I totally agree that the sesame industry collectively needs to put in a little more effort to make their consumers aware about the benefits of sesame, and not just edible, but also the oil. Like Muthu sir said, it's got a different genre of buyers together, and we must tap into that. So please stick around, and we'll move on to the Q&A after this. I'm sure there are some questions waiting for you from the panel, and everybody listening in. I kindly advise you to put in your questions in the Q&A section. The faster you do it, the faster I'll be able to take them on. So please type in your questions right now. Don't wait for them. Next in line, thank you, David, for your presentation. Next in line, we have Mihir Parmar, the third generation from Mamta Commodities. He's going to talk about India as a destination for sesame, because It's a global market. We import almost as much as we produce now. So Mihir, the stage is all yours. Please take over. You have to unmute yourself. You're still not unmuted. That's all right. Take your time.
Yeah.
We have you now.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Please
okay,
go ahead.
perfect.
Take over.
So, good day, everyone. My name is Mihir Parmar from Mumta Commodities LLP, and today my topic is on the import side of the Indian market. You might all know that India is a very big export market, but from time to time, India has been a quite big import market too. So, in this presentation today, I'm going to cover the following broad areas pertaining to Indian sesame seeds market. We are going to look at Indian production and demand, need for import, feasibility conditions for import, who can import in India, import stats and suppliers, and some trends and outlook. So on this slide, here we'll see that Indian production and demand patterns. India grows sesame seeds crop biannually, once in the summer season around May, June, and once in the winter season, that's around October. India produces a total of 600 to 700,000 metric tons of black, brown, and white sesame seeds. This year, however, the production is going to be a bit lower than these figures, but these figures are on average. So out of this 600 to 700,000 metric tons of sesame seeds that's produced annually in India, around 300,000 metric ton is exported per year from India on average. So as you can see, like in the year 2000, the exporter was around 154,000 metric tons, and it has over the years grown to some stable levels of around 300,000 metric tons. So whatever sesame seeds it's not exported out of India is used for local consumption, sesame oil production, and the local demand. So the local demand within India is quite good in the winter season, and the consumption of sesame seed is quite high during that time. And normally at that time, what happens is the local retail suppliers compete with the domestic, the exporters in India, to get their hands on the good product that India has on offer in the local market. So because of this, there's a need of import. The crop cannot grow infinitely, and there's a growing demand as well. Sometimes there's also a short crop in India. Okay, so to sustain the demand side, okay, the India needs to import. India sesame exports are mainly processed sesame like hulled or sorted sesame rather than just being machine cleaned. So there is a main, so over the years, sorry, so there are more than 40 sesame hulling plants in India catering to the local and export demand. To support this export of these value-added products in India, sesame, imports of sesame seeds from more cost-effective origins are required to fulfill the global demand. So in this slide, we'll see as to when will India consider importing. So global markets, as you know, are quite volatile, and one origin can move up while the other can come down. So knowing when India is in the market for import is somewhat important for the trade decision of global suppliers as well. So some of the factors to check the feasibility of imports are to check if the current market trend is bullish or bearish. How is the outlook of the market, like if the market is going up or down? How is the global demand for Indian sesame, mainly hulled sesame? How long is the transport time? A long or a short transit time can either be beneficial as per the client's requirement. So some importers require a shorter transit time. Some importers require a longer transit time. So transit time from Brazil to India is more than 2 months, around 2 months. Whereas the transit time from Tanzania or Mozambique is around let's say 9 to 12 days for Mozambique and 12 to 15 days for Tanzania for a direct vessel. So Indian importers can get their hands on the cargo very quickly, as well as they can book some cargo and for future demand as well. So next point being the hulling and the sorting yield of the cargo. So this is also an important factor what the hulling producers see when importing the cargo. So Indian cargo hulling yield is around 77 to 80%, and Sudan red cargo is 80 to 83%, which is like around 3% more. It gives 3 percentage points more hulling yield than the Indian cargo. Similarly, for other origins, there are differences in the hulling yield, which the importers consider while importing. Other factors being the clearing and the transport cost. The clearing and the transport cost in the current day and age, the clearing cost comes around to almost $50 to $60 per metric ton for a buyer, and the transport cost is variable depending on the location of the factory in India. And finally, the most important factor is the local price against the import goods price. So all these factors considered all together, they would see that if the import is feasible or not. So who all can import into India? So not all importers can import into India, unlike China, Turkey, or Japan, and other sesame importing markets. India cannot import directly for local demand, as sesame imports normally attract around 36% import tax, which makes it infeasible for imports. So in India, there's an advanced authorization scheme or advanced license, which allows the Indian importers of sesame seeds to import the raw material required for making the value-added product without the payment of the duty, the 36% duty that I talked about. They don't need to pay if they export the goods out of India. So let's say if an importer imports 100 kgs of sesame seeds into India, they have to export 75%, which is like 75 kgs of processed sesame seeds, that is hulled sesame seeds, out of India for them to not pay the applicable duty. So it's not a market like the other countries where anybody can import, but only the manufacturers can import into India. So this is actually quite beneficial for Indian importers, as they don't need to fight directly with the local demand, and they can keep on exporting their value-added products out of India and bringing the capital into India by processing these sesame seeds. So in this slide, we'll see how much India gets and from which all origin are its major suppliers, along with some of the trends over the past 2 years. As we'll see in this first chart, it's evident that India's import capacity is increasing year on year, starting from around just 30 metric tons in 2000. It has reached to around 145,000 metric tons in 2020, making it one of the fourth largest importers of sesame seeds globally after China, Japan, and Turkey. The lower production over the years, coupled with the increase in demand, has drove the imports volumes up. On the second chart, we can see that the top suppliers to India in the year 2019 and 20, the biggest supplier to India being Sudan, which is of which the most quantity is the Sudan red type, which is quite preferred by the Indian hulling industry. The second being Nigeria, with around 38,000 metric tons imported into India in 2020. Brazil was a new entrant in the market for India owing to its phytosanitary agreement with India in 2020. Around 18,000 metric tons of Brazilian sesame seeds was imported into India, out of which around 15,000 arrived in 2020 and rest in 2021. This season, the price of Brazilian sesame seeds has been higher than Indian origin prices and hence have been cost prohibitive for import owing to factors like low yield, freight rates, etc. issues in Brazil. They weren't able to offer at a competitive price to India for them to import. So yeah, so the top two makes up for the like almost 75% of the Indian import market, while the rest makes up for the 25% of the import market. So the rest of the origins are like Somalia, Burkina Faso, Togo, Tanzania, Mozambique, and Ethiopia. There are a few more origins which are quite small and not listed, but these are the origins which make up for around 95% of the import market for India. In 2020, when China was hit hard during COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of quantity from Tanzania and Mozambique was also imported into India, providing them a good cushion to like export their goods out of Tanzania and Mozambique. So these slides would be available later as well. Yeah. So moving on to the trends and outlook for Indian market. Indian crop production seems to be decreasing year on year, and it has been rather erratic in the past few years. And Indian import seems to be increasing year on year owing to good demand. So unless the production of the Indian crop Indian production keeps on increasing, they would need to keep on increasing the import of goods. So India would always stay favorable as an export destination for most of the global exporter, owing to its shorter transit time and more affordable freight rates, which is not true in the current situation, but in general, India is quite close to the Far East and those markets, so it's always going to be a favorable export destination. So this year, imports to India seems difficult until Indian local prices moves up a bit, or if the global prices of a sesame reduces so as to be favorable for import. By next year, I assume there might be an import parity for Indian importers to restart importing of sesame seeds to India. So as a closing note, I would just like to say that India should always be kept in mind while trading, as it's one of the major market movers in sesame seeds industry, and its import can move the market considerably. So do feel free to get in touch regarding any inquiries on the Indian market as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mihir. Like father, like son, always a great insight to the market. And when you have your nerve stuck with the Indian market, you know it better than anybody else. So thank you for all your comments. Stick around. We'll have some discussions later on after everybody finishes. Next, we have Mr. Alper Onil, Origin Agro Trade Limited from Turkey, the very fit man if you follow him on the social media. And he's a sesame trader as well. So let's have it from Alper. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Mukul. Nice to see you after a long time. We didn't meet a lot due to pandemic. And hello, everyone who participate in this virtual conference as speaker or participator. And thanks to team of the Sesame Info for their kind invitation is to be speaker in this conference. It is very difficult time to talk about Sesame actually. If I guess the market like today, I wouldn't be a speaker at this conference for sure, especially recent situation at the market. As you know, we have passed a very difficult time since 2 years and still have not returned to normalization yet. First of all, I cannot say that this terrible period is very positive process for the sesame market. Of course, this is unexpected situation. It prevents market players to take a position very difficult. Especially the lockdown period has seriously interrupted our work. I can say that life was almost stopped. Of course, in terms of health, it was necessary to take such decision from government. Other hand, it brought the economy to be stopping. Let's talk about below tables. First table about currency. Please, yes. Turkish lira hits records low against dollar. Actually, there is serious difference between day when I sent this presentation in last week and today. Lira is again 9.50, and before yesterday rebounded and again break record again, and it's reached around 9.84. It means that we face a new record every day in currency. Normally, as manufacturer or importer, we should focus to find the best rate for our raw materials. But in Turkey, most of commodity traders or importers are having good knowledge about money market like financial players. Maybe we know money market better than sesame market, who knows? What is the main impact of currency upon sesame market? As you know, that natural sesame is being traded as dollar and final product like tahina and helva are being sold as Turkish lira in local market. If you think that lira has been depreciated against dollar since long time, then we have writing a big currency loss in our book. If it is added currency loss plus decrease of profits due to big competition in the sector, then how manufacturer can be happy in their field? This is a big question mark. but there is nothing to what we can do about currency. Only companies can often hedge their risk with currency swap forward contracts. End of day, there has been currency pressure since many years, and it affects local market sales negatively. Next, please. Yes. Second table is showing us about the total sesame export of Turkey, including domestic sesame exports mainly to Japan, transit business for natural mainly to Syria, and hot sesame export mainly to Europe and Iraq. According to third and fourth tables, it is showing that there were serious quantity increase of hot export from Turkey to Europe. The main reason of this was ethylene oxide problem in hot between India and Europe. However, this problem was already over, and already India's restart to export again. In addition to this, we can show that Turkey is a long way in exports of tahini and hot sesame. It is one of the suppliers that has serious say in Europe and America. Of course, at the same time, we shouldn't forget about expansion of the usage area of sesame and its derivatives in the domestic market. Next page, please. Next one. Yes. As Turkey, we are top 3 biggest sesame buyer in the world with China and Japan. And we will check below tables 4th and 5th, which show us about total imports. There are 2-3 remarkable factors in these tables. However, most important is that sesame imports have increased sharply in recent years, especially rebound in 2020, and we broke our record in sesame importation, and we reached more than 220,000 metric tons in 2020. We see that natural sesame imports from Chad and Sudan countries have increased excessively in recent years. Why our importation increased day to day from Sudan? We need to talk about this. Actually, our export is quite big to Sudan, and money transfer is not easy from Sudan because of sanction. Hence, one of the main options to get the payment is barter with sesame seed. That's why there are many sesame players who has come from other sectors. We have never heard these companies before in our market. And another reason is that Syrian traders who live in Turkey has a strong relation with Sudan. That's why leading to increased import from Sudan by Syrian traders. And another origin, Chad. Another big supplier of sesame is Chad, and our import has been increasing every day, and Chad became second biggest supplier after Nigeria. And let's talk what is the reason why this country is selling a lot cargo to Turkey. As you know that Chad sesame had come from Nigeria for many years. From Nigeria is my degree. But recent years, due to complaints about size of the seeds, people decide to buy directly from Chad through Douala port from Cameroon. This is one of the main reasons for direct business from Chad to Turkey. And another factor is that bagel sales were down due to lockdown, where people couldn't go out in Turkey during 2020. Then prices were down sharply, and it started to be sold at the same level of big seeds like Kanu and Balıkçı prices, which never happened before in our market. Normally, gap was always $100, $150 between big size to small size, especially for Chad. Until that time, tahini manufacturer couldn't use much Chadian sesame in their plant. This happened to give the opportunity to manufacturers to try Chad in their plant for tahini, and they received a very good feedback from retail market. But I don't know from now on, we will see again the such equivality at the price of the big size to small size. And I don't know how much manufacturer will pay extra for Chadian sesame seed. Another near south country who is pushing supply high to Turkey, this is the country is Brazil. Our sesame import series is going up day to day from South America, mainly from Brasilia. There are 4 varieties in Brazil, Seda, Anahi, K3, and treble. And anaya and seda are being used in tahini, and K3 and treble to be used for hulling plant. Monthly, next one, please. Yeah, this is the current this year import until August. You can find all the details for the each of months. Next, please. Monthly price of the last 3 years are shown in different origin in the tables 6 and 7. I think that this table will help our colleagues to see any movement of price at the same period in different years and seasonal price movements. Actually, I don't want to talk much about price movement, but price is going up in order since 2 months. It is impossible to say something about future trend of price. However, I should tell something about some factors which triggered to increase the sesame price. And first of all, tight supply because of container crisis all over the world, because of shortage containers. Second is freight cost has increased 3 times, even 4 times with pandemic. This is extra cost for final product. Uncertainty due to the late of the new crop arrival in West Africa, especially in Nigeria and Burkina. And the port problems, especially in Sudan. Since 2 years, we have faced the problem with Sudan because of their port operation. However, now there is very big problem because we didn't get any movement in Port Sudan since 2 months, fully stopped, and we don't know when it's going to be open again. If we think that it was being made a lot of contracts of red and non-gathered sesame seed from Sudan in June, July, August, and this shipment is already delayed, and of course it will pressure upon price each delayed from now on. Regarding the stocks on ground in Turkey, it is not easy to guess about current stocks. However, import tables show us that highest import of sesame ever in 2020. If we think low consumption during pandemic, it has to be some carryover stocks from 2020 to 2021. This is my opinion that price has been lower than origins despite uptrend at sesame price in international markets since 2.5 months. There were some contracts above $1,600 as CNF Mersin base from Nigeria recently for Bauchi cargo. But if you compare to same period of past years before pandemic, it is much lower than past years. Strong dollar plus uptrend sesame price, what is the pulling demand low locally for final products? Because these products are being consumed mainly for low and middle segment. End of my speech, what will be key factors to impact the prices up or down? First of all, bullish side, currency effects like lira dollar, freight cost, this is direct effect price of raw materials, logistic problem, tight supply, and Port Sudan issue, one of the main supply of Turkey, and shorter transit time to Turkey against other African countries. And if we think our current contract is in June, July, August, what would be shipped normally September, October, and November, but we didn't receive any shipment details yet from Sudan. This is going to be a problem for sure. Various side, new crop arrival, Nigeria and Burkina will already start to arrive to market. Burkina is just small country come to Mandi market, but then after these 2 countries, it will come from other African countries like Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia, Chad. So low purchasing power because of pandemic. People lost their economic position because of pandemic. High price of final products to make a lower demand for final product like helva and tahini, what I mentioned is ago. So I hope to see everything is going well, because really a very difficult situation under pandemic. And I hope everything is going well for everybody in the future. Thank you very much for your attention and join us, and see you again soon.
Thank you, Alper. Thank you for the details on the Turkish market. But I do believe to a certain extent, Turkish market is detached from prices, because sesame is one of the staple products in many of the meals for simit and for hummus. So I think how much do you think it's detached in terms of prices and consumption? Even if we have a 20-30% increase, do you think the demand goes down, or the retailers or the end
Absolutely,
product just goes up?
absolutely demand because of I already mentioned, because this is the product what I told you, this is tahin and helva. Of course, tahin side which is used and going high every day because of hummus. This is the vegan product, and people is eating because of healthy. But if you talk about our main business come from tahin and helva, and consumption is going down, and pressure also come from currency. And for example, in last year, at the same time of last year, we sold locally 14 Turkish lira for tahini, but today it's almost 25, 26 Turkish lira per kg, and almost double. So I don't know, and if it is going like this in currency, plus sesame price, sesame pressure, and I believe that it will be definitely affect as our final sales in locally.
Thank you so much. I totally get it. Stick around. I'm sure there are a few more questions coming your way. Now, next we have Mr. Prakash, my old friend from Hakan Food DMCC Dubai. Good to have you again, Prakashji. And he's going to talk about the Middle East and the Turkish market trend again on the consumption and the global side of it. He's an expert for all the listeners out there. He's an expert on the sesame trading for a long time. So it would be nice to hear his views. Prakashji, stage is all yours.
Thank you, Mukul. Am I audible?
Oh, absolutely. Am I audible is the new hello. So just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. First of all, congratulations to the World Sesame Conference and also the Sesame Info for organizing this virtual platform. I hope next year we all meet together and we will have a physical conference. Let me go to straight away to my session, which is I need to talk about the Middle East. I will go into the Middle East and little bit touching on the Egypt and Turkey, even though the Turkey, the earlier speaker spoke something about it, but still I will add little bit what I know on those market. Okay, as you know that the sesame seed is the oldest oil seeds in the world and in the Middle East. Any voice coming from here? Okay. There was some disturbance. Okay. Now it's fine, right? Mukul, can you hear me?
Yes, please. It's okay. No problem.
Okay. Okay. So sesame is one of the oldest oilseed crop in the Middle East and the world. Once the Middle East was introduced to sesame seed, it became an item that had an essential use in everyday's life. In ancient Arab world, they used to crush sesame seeds, by using the camels. Even the ancient Arab physicians who were, using the sesame seed and the oil for different purposes. As you know, the sesame seeds are filled with a lot of nutritious attributes such as fiber, protein, different nutrients, copper, magnesium, and calcium. Consuming sesame seeds helps in lowering cholesterol and possibly prevent cancer and increase bone and cardiovascular health. So these are the reasons why the Arabs knows the sesame seed, and they were using very olden times itself the sesame seed and the oils. Now the most common, nowadays the most common, it's a common ingredient in many Middle Eastern countries. They make the sesame paste. From that, they make tahini, which is quite popular in the Middle East. The Middle Eastern countries also using sesame seeds to make halwa and confectionaries as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, now currently the main usage is, as you know, it's tahini and hummus. Basically, this is tahini is made from sesame paste. From paste, they are making hummus, and nowadays it's a must in any Arab dining table almost on regular basis. And nowadays they are making this hummus in different flavor, and which is very popular. The sesame seed is to the Lebanese what Parmesan cheese is to the Italians. A must have an essential and favorite flavor maker. It's commonly seen on top of baked goods and in sauces as well. The sesame seed is also used in making sweet halwa and in the confectionery industries. In fact, in recent years, the usage in confectionery and sweet halwa is increasing drastically. Can you go to the next one? Yeah, these are some visual things. You can see sesame paste on the bread. They are using it. Then halwa. What how they use in the Middle East. All these are the main usages I just showing you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, now about the overview on the Middle East, what are their consumptions? Jordan buys about 70,000 tons. When you see Jordan is a small country, probably about 10 million, but it's not fully consumed there because they are sending a lot of cargoes into Palestine. They are processing it and exporting also process. So Jordan is a very major importer in terms of sesame seed. Lebanon comes about 40,000 tons, Saudi around 40,000. Others, including this UAE, where transit cargoes goes into nearby countries, plus the other small countries all together, put together, it's coming about 200,000 tons. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, and current difficulties, what we are facing is this in Lebanon. Last few years, it's going through various problems, which include political instability, scarcity of foreign currency, and drop in demand due to unemployment and reduction in people's regular income. Now, Saudi, when you talk about the Saudi also used to export tahini, halwa, etc. to Yemen. Last few years, this business stopped due to Saudi-Yemen issue. This lead to reduction in the demand, resulting in reduction of production by various factories in Saudi. Of course, all of us know the sanctions in Iran, which has resulted in increasing poverty level in Iran, and thus it reduced the consumption power of consumers in Iran. Iran, with its population of about 85 million, supposed to be the major importer and consumer of sesame seeds. But, because of the sanctions, they hardly do less than half of what this quantity they could have done it. Most of Iran buying is happening from Pakistan through border trade. As like any countries, COVID affects the consumption of sesame seed in the Middle Eastern countries also. Due to lockdowns and restrictions in dining restaurants, we have seen lowering the consumption during the last year. Now things are getting better. Middle East slowly started going to normal levels. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, when I talked about Middle East, I cannot complete the presentation without mentioning Egypt and Turkey because of their consumption. We are seeing good political stability in Egypt with a decent foreign currency availability in the country for imports. Import figures is this import figure which I said is they have about 70,000 tons they do import, and also they have a local crop of about 35 to 40,000 tons. When you talk about the 70,000 tons, this is an approximate because a lot of cargo going from Sudan through border trade on the unofficial route. So it's very difficult to get the figure about this. There are some, another one which I need, the main usage is anyway, it's tahina and halwa. And what's important, I told you about the Sudan-Egypt border trade. The most important thing about Egypt is the transit business is increasing. There are some tahina and halwa factories coming up in Egypt for the purpose of serving to Europe and North America. I would say Egypt is an ideal location to have such kind of factories, as I have seen many times. Local price in Egypt for Sudanese sesame seed is cheaper than the origin. This is mainly due to the unofficial border trade happening between the countries for quite a long time. Also, India is facing this ETO issues, so buyers in Europe might be looking more alternative sources. Since this year, Ethiopia is expecting a short crop, Egypt can be a gateway for the sesame seed requirement in Israel, as export from Sudan to Israel directly is still not possible. And also due to uncertainty in Port Sudan, one can also explore the possibility to ship a small vessel from Port Sudan to Egypt and hold cargo in Egypt for the requirements of nearby countries such as Israel, Turkey, Jordan, and Syria. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, when I talk about Turkey, I assume the import figure is about 170,000 tons. Probably I'm not calculating the transit cargo. This is what directly consuming into Turkey as per my view. Main usage is again tahini, halwa, and confectionery. Now, import and consumption of sesame seed in Turkey is growing slowly and steadily. Even though Turkey has serious problems on the currency fluctuation, few years before Turkey exempted sesame seed import from any duty. This led to an increase in the local consumption. Turkey also produced small amount of golden sesame seeds, which normally is sold at a premium. The Turkey is a very fast in adopting new origins and new type of sesame seed. Late 90s, Turkey mainly importing from India. Later, they accustomed with African origins. Early 2000, they started importing from Ethiopia, both Humera and Waleka. But later, when Ethiopia prices maintained at higher levels, they shifted their demand from Ethiopia to Nigeria. Last year, what we saw is their demand structure changed again from Nigeria to Chad and Sudan non-Daref and Brazilian sesame seed. Turkey used to consume Chad only for the confectionery purpose earlier, but last year Turkish processors started using Chad for tahina and halwa also. Now, when you talk about the challenges, the earlier speaker has spoken already well. I'm just highlighting it. The main challenges is, of course, the currency factor. And there is, the currency, when the currency is depreciating, the import cost is going up. And if the sesame prices on the other way started going up higher, we can see a reduction in the consumption of sesame seed in Turkey. And lots of Syrians who migrated from Syria to Turkey, they had some money. They are just going into the origins and buying and bringing it into Turkey, because in Turkey, holding the stock in a bonded warehouse and selling is very easy. So they do not have any overhead. So the conventional players in Turkey, they are losing their importance over the Syrians. And most of the imports into Middle East, and this is what challenges we are facing it. And another thing is, what is the future? Of course, Turkey has a good future on the imports as well as the exports of sesame seed. It's a steadily growing economy. We can see a good numbers. Probably, it's like in another few years, probably the Turkey can reach about 300,000 tons of imports if the prices of sesame seed remain stable and not too high. And because of the ETO issue in India, Turkey exports of whole sesame seed into Europe is getting more popular, especially they are sharing the border with Eastern European countries. So by road, they can send it to European countries. Probably this quantity will increase in the coming years. This is what about my presentation about the Middle East. And also I just wanted to tell you, because just out of my agenda, yesterday some West, there's some speakers speaking about the West Africa. Probably one of the highlights which I didn't hear is about Chad. The Chad, the importance of Chad sesame seed is getting higher and higher every day. That's why I thought of giving some information regarding Chad sesame from my little knowledge. Chad origin is becoming a very popular origin, not only because of the sweetness of the cargo, but also due to the increase in the production. It has become already a very popular seed in Turkey, and also last year they have exported some sesame seed into China. We can see more demand from China for this product this year. And this year, if all goes well, I would expect a crop of 120 to 130,000 tons in Chad, and this will grow further in the coming years. That's all. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. And disclaimer. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash.
Thank you, Mukul.
That was very insightful. And Chad is very interesting. Because, like you said, nobody has a separate slide on Chad, but could you tell us more? When does the crop actually arrive, and what is the quality like in comparison to its neighbors? In which category would you put that crop, the seeds?
The Chad normally crop comes second half of November, like Burkina Faso. It comes second half of November. Years before, the Chad crop used to be like 25,000 tons or 30,000 tons. Gradually it grows up. Now I would say last year, probably the crop may be about anything between, including the cargo which goes into Nigeria and directly exports, probably about 100,000 tons. And the good thing about this crop is it's sweet. So actually in tahina also it's good. And in confectionery industries also it's good. Generally, the sesame seed is small seed, So initially they started in Turkey for using confectionery industries, but now small and also the mixed seeds with big seeds is also coming. So last year in Turkey they used for tahini, and the result was extremely good. And that's why I'm saying, because it's very sweet, probably this child can and also in Chad a lot of areas which is still not grown sesame seed. So when the people started getting high income, especially this year, next year I would see a very big number from Chad.
And does Chad have a trade agreement with China for tax benefits? Do you think if Nigeria and other destinations are short, maybe China could also step in to buy Chad cargo later
Chad,
on?
the last year they exported actually Niger origin. They are using, because they are using Niger origin documentation. Some exports happened with Niger origin, which was okay. So China would buy more from this year from Chad using Niger origin.
Chad. So the Chad cargo, the Turkish market will have competition from China as well this year, because our other origins are a little haywire.
Correct.
And same for Middle East, I believe.
Yeah, the initial problem with Chad was the aflatoxin was very high. So very often it was getting rejected. But last 2 years, I didn't see much rejection in Turkey. So this means the aflatoxin level has come down. And so I assume Chad is going to be a very important origin in sesame seed trade.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prakash. Please stick around. We'll have a discussion later on. Next, we have with us Mr. Yasir Mohammed from Safe Herbs and Spices, Egypt. Prakash gave us a small insight of how you can be the gateway. Please expand on that, Mr. Yasir. This stage is all yours.
Hello, Mr. Mukaid. Firstly, and I would like to welcome all delegates and participants for their attendance. Also, my special thank to World Sesame Conference for their invite to me. And I hope it will be good for all of us, and I hope my presentation will be useful. So can we go through the presentation, please? Okay. Our presentation about Egyptian sesame market. First slide, sesame in Egypt. Sesame indica, the botanical name of the popular oil plant, has features for climate, has perfect features for climatic conditions of Egypt. The plant thrives well in dry areas and need relatively small amount of water. Hence, sesame products are particularly important in Egypt cuisine. Tahin, a past meat from pure sesame, is used, for instance, as sauce in several dishes and builds the basic ingredients in typical Egyptian creation, such as hummus. Sesame is also very liked as a sweet variation on springly, when knowing that sesame already occurred in Greece epoch of Egypt, 4th to 1st century BC. It's even told that sesame was used in ancient Egypt. There are statements that the seed were found in tomb of Tutankhamun, Egyptian king, from 1330 to 1323 BC. However, what is certain is that sesame was already planted in Mesopotamia around 3000 BC and has spread since then. Next, please. Egyptian sesame cultivation and types. Sesame cultivation in Egypt starts end of May and harvest is in September. Sesame seeds production increased over the years along with its demand. The range of white and brown sesame are one of the most favored crops to farmers due to its resistance to withstand unfavorable weather conditions, grows with minimum attention. Next. Factors that drive supply for sesame. There are two important factors in supply in Egypt. The first factor is cultivation area. Egypt has actually more than 16,500 hectares of sesame seeds cultivation. The cultivation area are increasing from year to year. And about weather condition in Egypt, we can say that we have a very good weather condition for the cultivation, and we are not suffering from flood or drought like in many other regions. Next. Factors that drive demand for sesame. For demand, we can say that price, the most important, and secondly, quality of sesame. But for prices is the most important factor affecting the demand in the market. When the prices increases, the demand decreases, as the consumer always looks for the cheapest alternative. And about quality of sesame, we can see that the consumer is always looking for a good quality and encourages the purchase of high quality products, which increases the demand for them. Because which but
Team, do we have a quality problem?
Yes, we do have some challenge in connecting with Mr. Yasir. Sir, at his hand, I think the signal is weak.
Yes,
Uh,
probably that.
Maybe sir, can you switch off the video and just talk? Perhaps the bandwidth will be better.
Yeah. My video
Has
is
he
off.
dropped out?
I think he's dropped out.
Yeah, he has dropped out. We can wait for him, sir. Then we can move to the next speaker. Then we can come back. It is okay with you?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, in the meantime, if he's coming back, it's fine. Otherwise, we can just take some questions from the panel in the meantime.
One more speaker we have.
One more speaker we have.
Yeah. So we can use this time to invite the last speaker, and then
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Bye.
So we're sorry about this technical glitch. Next, we have with us Ms. Jane Jiang from ETG Group, China. Thank you for waiting all this while, Ms. Jane. We would love to have your insight about the market. Of course, ETG being one of the biggest companies operating out of Africa and into China, it would be nice to hear your comments on the sesame market trends and the outlook. Please go ahead, Ms. Jane.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mukul. And thank you everyone for your time. This is Jim from ETG China, and today I'm going to share something on the demand trends in China sesame market. And in last 2 days, it seems like a lot of things been discussed regarding this China sesame. So I'm just trying to put some small add-ons. Next slide, please. I will cover the China sesame consumption segment, the general consumption trend, overview on import and export, the market outlook, and our ETG world. Next slide, please. Okay. China sesame consumption mainly into 3 parts. First, there is the traditional using of crushing oil, which takes 50 to 60% of the raw material into finished products. And the edible, including both hulling and saltex, takes 20 to 30% of the market size. The paste, powder, and others takes 10%. Next slide, please. China import and consumption trend. Here I put some historical number from year 2009 to year 2021. And the consumption trend is keep increasing from the 2009 to today. And 2009, the level was around the 660,000 level, and till date, it's around 1.3 million. And China used to be the exporter before 2007 and 8. And now the sesame is not attractive agricultural product to China farmers. So the local crop size keep decreasing. In year 2009, it was around the 310,000 level, and till date is around the 100,000 level. And 90% of the demand and consumption is rely on the import from overseas origins, which mainly is Africa origins. And here I didn't take the border trade of Myanmar to China. So the 1.2 million tons of import is not consumption level is will need to add the border trade also. And the China market is keep changing, and we have seen the zero stock levels in the early years, but now we have seen like over 280,000 tons sesame stock lying in Qingdao port. Next slide, please. If we go through the origin-wise import, the main contribution is from Ethiopia, Sudan, Burkina cluster, Tanzania, Mozambique, and Nigeria. And we have seen over 300,000 tons import from Ethiopia in year 2016, and it kept decreasing during past years. And in COVID year, we have seen the impressive contribution from West Africa that we can say from total Burkina cluster, which including Togo, Mali, and Burkina Faso. In the January to September 2021, it was around 210,000 tons from Burkina cluster, and Nigeria export 290,000 tons from January to September 2021. It seems like not only export to Turkey, China also moved the whole West Africa into our side. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Sorry, the network issue. Go to the backside, yeah, or export. Every year, China export around 40 to 50,000 tons natural sesame to the overseas market. And the mainly destination is Korea under the China and the Korea FTA agreement. Regarding the oil export in 2020, there was around 7,000 tons export from China, and which equal to around 15,000 tons of the natural sesame. So the total natural sesame equivalent export from China is around 60 to 70,000 tons. Next slide, please. We have discussed that over half of the raw material come to China flow to the sesame oil, and the sesame oil been discussed today also in the Indian part. And instead of cooking oil, China use it as a seasoning oil, and it's a steady product application demand, which lack of substitute competition product. And we have done the research before that sesame oil is one of the most stable market with 3% cigar and around 450,000 tons market demand in 2018. And the main market is Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan have 85 to 90% market share. China itself have a market volume of 280,000 tons to 300,000 tons. Next slide, please. Yeah, come to the market look. We have discussed a lot, and we have coming to the currency, logistics, weather issues, of course, the crop shortage. And I'm just putting some small point from China side. As the biggest sesame market, there is clearly tight supply from both overseas and the local side. Crop shortage being reported from nearly all sesame origins, of course, China itself. And during the COVID times, seems like there is a stable demand and consumption. There's a number support, but it can affect the economic activities anytime. And recently, there are more cases being reported from multiple provinces in China. We don't know if there is a lockdown or not. and consider the global inflation of commodity price. If you really do the comparison, and is the sesame price is really expensive today. Today we are at the end of October. China is sitting at the port stock level of 200,000 tons. In next 2 months, which till December end, we are expecting 100 to 120,000 tons import from overseas, which mainly from Tanzania, Mozambique, and Pakistan. Nearly a limited quantity from other origins. And now the port consumption level is around 100,000 tons per month. So possibly we are seeing 100 to 120,000 tons ending stock in December end. So the general supply and demand situation can result the price volatile at high level till August or September 2022 next season come. Next slide. Our ETG world. We collect from Africa farm gate, processing in Africa, supplying to all destinations. ETG's sesame business today is the most diversified in geography and works for value addition across the whole supply chain. Next slide. In 2014, ETG established the Tianjin factory for sesame hulling, and today we are at the yearly capacity of around 40,000 tons. And we supply dry hulled, edible salted, roasted hulled, and roasted edible. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Thank you again for the time and the organizer. Please feel free to contact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. That was, everybody likes to know about China, of course, and that was really nice indeed. Please stick around. We have Yasir back. We lost him in the middle during his conversation. Yasir, please take over your slides, and we'll just, after that, we'll go for an open discussion.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there was a problem in connection. Could you please open the screen? Which regions are the major suppliers of sesame to Egyptian market? Egyptian market use especially Egyptian sesame as the main supplier, but there also Sudan region is also selling in the market in Egypt because it's cheaper than the Egyptian, but lower quality than Egyptian quality. What are the main source of demand for sesame? The main source of demand is the oil industry, as well as the sweet industry in Egypt, such as the tahine and the pastries sweet base market. Next. Why Egyptian sesame? That's important question. We can say that there is about 6 important points we have to consider when we would like to work with Egypt. If we speak about product quality, we can supply a Sortex quality with a purity of 99.95%. Oil continent Egyptian sesame achieved the highest oil percentage compared to other regions, as it's about 40 to 45%. And about ethylene oxide, we can see that Egyptian sesame analysis reports for E2O shows not detected, even if there is cross-contamination. But for natural, it's not detected. And about pesticide, we can see that Egyptian sesame analysis reports for pesticide shows not detected. For organic and also for conventional farming as well, it's a different that there is traces for pesticide. About packaging, we can say that in Egypt there is packaging started from 5 kg to 700 kg big bags. Egyptian sesame are certified organic, JAS, fair trade, ISO. Next. It changes in regulations for food safety. In fact, in that part, we would like to say that Egypt now is more strict in regards to food safety, as it's planned to certify all exporting companies in a food and agriculture section, all companies listed in white list, and any company out of this list will not be able to sell or export. Next. Shipping and logistics. We can say that exporting from Egypt to Europe, it takes about 3 weeks. And for some countries in Europe, like Italy, it takes only 1 week. Yeah, please. Price expectations. The prices are stable as the demand for Egyptian sesame increased. Although Egyptian prices are higher than other origins, but if the price compared with the quality, we will find that it's cheaper. Next. Here's some photos for Egyptian sesame steps in our farms. We can see that here in 10 days and 45. Next. After 60 days in farm, after 60 days here after we harvest, and it's still green here after drying. Next. So thank you so much for your attention, and I apologize for the connection. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Yasir.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we are, Mr. Vatsa, we're done with everybody, all the speakers. Thank you for their time and their lovely presentations. Can we have everybody back on screen so that we may have a small discussion and do the Q&A? Hello. Okay. So let's start where we started from. So this one goes for, I think, yep. Did Mr. Tomohisa leave? Is he not there? Mr. Tomohisa? Okay. But anybody else would like to take this question? Maybe Prakash. Japan, their volumes are down this year. Comparatively, they're short by about 45,000 tons as of the August figures that they gave in. Do you think they can make it up in the months to come? You'll have to unmute, Prakash.
I would say that I don't think they will make up the entire quantity what they are lacking behind. One of the reasons is that last year probably they have imported one of the highest figure in last few years. It was one of the highest import. Their consumption is, as per me, is not that much. Plus, last year, if you see lockdown, because of the lockdowns, restaurants were mostly closed and all this thing, and the consumption might have gone down, and they might be sitting with carryovers. So I don't think this year they will make up that quantity. I mean, still, average 8 to 10,000 tons arrive every month in Japan. But I doubt that the 45,000 tons differences completely they will square off this year.
Thank you. David, this one is for you from the immediate past chairman of IOEPC, Mr. Khushwant Jain. You've interacted with him enough about the ETO problem, and his question is just about that. He says that we have seen cases of ETO being detected naturally, even though there was no ETO treatment done, and the lab results have a variation in some cases up to 50%, so one positive, one negative. In that case, what is the view of the EU authorities going forward in long term?
That's a good question. I think the EU authorities are standing by the analysis and then any appeal process that might be merited. But we have seen scenarios where cargo has been detected as positive for ETO and actually destroyed by the importing port. So I would strongly urge any exporter that is suffering an ETO positive result at destination to mobilize the trade authority and contact the EU as quickly and as concisely as possible if there is a suspicion that there's a fault in the test result. Other than this, every EU border has its own approach, but I can recommend that they contact DG Sante directly to put the case.
Noted. Then another question for you. You can take this on as well while you're at it. What is the EU price expectations in the coming months? Is EU comfortable with the current levels, or a little bit up and down flow would affect the consumption and the demand per se?
I think every panelist and every origin represented here is very familiar with their own FOB prices. Current freight costs is having such a big impact around the world, and different origins are being considered by every importing nation on its C&F basis. So with freight rates representing such a large percentage of the total C&F level today, there has to be an expectation of some freights equalizing or returning to some normality. We've already begun to see an expectation of freight reduction through the months of December and January. So I think these are the key factors that will impact purchasing patterns when freight is such a big percentage of the C&F level.
Thank you so much. Alper, a question for you about Turkish market being another supplier to the EU market as well. But from the news that is coming in, the organic market seems to be short in supply because India is not keen in that sector anymore. Do you think Turkey or any other market could venture into that area of, let's say, organic hard sesame or cleaned organic sesame, that kind of a thing? You'll have to unmute. Alper, you'll have to unmute.
Sorry. Nowadays our organic products and farming is going up day to day in agricultural products, mainly for pulses. And it's already started a big export from Turkey to Europe for beans. But for sesame seed, we don't have much area for organic sesame seed in Turkey. And as you know, that Turkey is also producer country of sesame seed. But you know that it is not sufficient cargo is available in Turkey for sesame seed. Otherwise, as you know that our goods is one of the best quality in the world, and which is called as golden sesame seed with Egyptian sesame seed. But organic sesame, yes, some of the factories are doing organic hot sesame seed to Europe, but where come from mainly West Africa, like from Uganda. Is natural sesame come from Uganda, some cargo come from Ethiopia, but they are trying to grow their organic export to Europe for hot sesame seed.
That's interesting. That's nice. Jane, there's a question for you. Can you please comment on the increase in monthly consumption from an average 65,000 tons to previous years to 95,000 tons in 2021? Is that the new normal? And do you think the port stocks right now, which ranges between 200 and 250, is mostly unsold cargo, or it's just the sold cargoes sitting in the warehouse to be picked up?
Okay. Regarding this consumption trend, the increase is actually along with the economic development in China. And during past years, the consumption has improved for Chinese, and not only for the the old times that you only for the food is enough. Now we people seeking for more different consumption, and also in the past years, sesame is not a cheap product for the Chinese, but now it seems like the consumption is not a problem. So the consumption keeps increasing till date is 1.3 million tons, which is currently actually stable at current level. And which you are talking about the port stock. Today we are sitting on the 200,000 tons. Is it booked or not? And from my side, they are around 20 to 30%, which is already due. Recently, the price keeps increasing, but actually due is not as the 2 weeks ago. A lot of cargo being due in 2 weeks ago, and it keep delivered from the port. So still some undelivered cargo lie in port.
Perfect. And this is very interesting what you said, Jane. And this really corresponds with if you were there for the presentation of Muthu, from Mr. Muthu from Triple V. He said exactly the same thing, and I wrote it down, that purchasing power, as it goes up, people go more towards the traditional oils compared to the mixed oils. So the better economic situation means you try to buy the best of things available for you. And sesame, of course, is one of the better oils available in China. It suits the palate and the taste, and it's a traditional oil. So yeah, that is one reason. Hope that was answered for the person who had it. And thankfully, we have a speaker from Chad on the panel. Mr. Srivastava was able to get him at the last moment. So can I have him on stage and have a little word from him about the crop in Chad, Ms. Zemtato? Welcome on the stage. Could you tell me about the Chad crop situation and the size of crop this year? You're not audible. We cannot hear you. You'll have to reset your mic. That's okay. Maybe log in and log out and log in again. It happens. No, you're not audible. In the meantime, till this technical thing is handled, let me go back to Prakash. Prakash, there is an interesting thought in my mind, as Mihir put it earlier, that India is a big importer of sesame as per the demand needs. And our winter crop is now almost corresponding with the domestic demand that we have in India. And over the past 5 or 6 years, we've seen the trend that, unlike before, where prices used to drop with new crop arriving, they now go up because the crop size is just about enough to cater to the domestic demand. Do you think Africa and India in future will be synchronized in a way to hedge their winter supplies? And of course, the summer crop is getting bigger and bigger, as you know, in India. So we have 6 months for that, but the winter demand, which sets in September, will be catered through some of the African destination in future. Do you think that synchronization or that harmony can kind of a hedge for the future sales can happen?
Okay, well, the Indian crop, it's probably either because of the weather or because of some other alternative things, the crops are going down, and I don't expect an Indian crop to any year to grow too much high. Even if it's a normal crop, we are talking about whitish is what, about 250, 260,000 tons or 300,000 tons. And the demand in India is locally from September, October up to January, there are good demands. So after January, the demand goes down. So as far as India is concerned, their crop is enough for their local consumption. And at the same time, at the moment, their export of halt into Europe has come down drastically if you compare a couple of years before. So next few years, what I'm thinking is probably Indian sesame will be, it's only for using the local consumption. And summer crop, of course, it's growing up. So the importance of winter crop is coming down every year because of uncertainty. And the irrigated crop, which is a summer crop, is more people can predict about the weather. So I would say that like Tanzania, Mozambique comes in, we will say after a few years, we will see that Indian crop, which is the main crop, we will say that, the summer crop. And India, the winter crop, what is producing it will be just consuming locally. And more hull plants are coming in countries like Turkey, Egypt, and Nigeria origins. They will start selling their products into Europe. So India, probably they may not need to import, they may need to export. This scenario will come in few years' time. This is what I think.
Thank you. That is perfect. That seems like a very right approach about the problem. Ms. Zimtato is able to connect again. Can you switch on your mic, Mr. Zimtato, and try again? If we can hear you.
Hello, good morning. I don't know
if
yes,
you hear me. Good morning. We can hear you loud and clear now. Welcome to
great.
the panel. Could you tell us a little bit about Chad and the crop and the prospects ahead, a little bit about the country, because we've not had a speaker from that origin.
Okay, thank you very much. As Chad is concerned, first of all, I want to thank you because it's the first time I take part to this international meeting about the Sesame, and it's a great opportunity for us to hear about this international meeting. So regarding Chad, we have at least two main regions where we produce the sesame seeds. The first region is on the center of the country, center part of the country. And the second place, the main place where there is a big production too, is the south part of the country. So these two regions produce sesame and they send them in two main ports. The first port is the port of Dar es Salaam in Sudan, and the second Port Harcourt in Sudan, and the second port is the port of Douala. So these two main places is where the production of Chad went. But there is also another place where the sesame went to, is the Maiduguri place in Nigeria. So there is a lot of truck who comes from Nigeria to take the sesame and to send them in Nigeria, and then from Nigeria they send them to the rest of the world. As the production is concerned for this year, I'm with the producer. I produce sesame, and also I work with other local sesame producers. So for this year, for the agriculture group that we represent, we target at least 3,500 tons of sesame seeds. This is only for at around 10 small districts. The production of this part of the country is in the south. So we produce S42 sesame seeds, which is a white sesame, and also it's sweet, and well, this is a characteristic of the sesame that we produce here.
Thank you so much. And the total crop size last year to this year, what do you see in the numbers? Last year was how much, and this year expectations?
The expectation of this year, as I told you, for our agricultural group, we target at least 3,500. But for the last year, we were around 2,000 or 2,500. Yes. But we add new villages, because it's not only one village, but it's at least 10.
No, overall Chad crop I'm talking about. The overall Chad crop.
Okay. The national production, I don't have the total production of the country, but for our group, this is the number that we have.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you so much. And Yasir, I have a question from you for you as well. What do you think is the total crop size for Egypt this year? And a very interesting point was made that Egypt could be the gateway to Israel for Sudanese cargo. What is your take on that? Can it happen that if Israel needs cargo from Sudan, it can go via Egypt? Is that kind of a trade possible? because Ethiopia being a little short, that gap has to be filled up.
In fact, if we speak about Egyptian production, it's not big enough for the demand of Egyptian sesame. As you know, sesame crop is not a big win for farmers, to be honest, because the prices is not good enough. But compared to other prices, we will find that Egyptian prices are high. So Egyptian sesame face a problem in that place. So some buyers buy from in Egypt, some buy from Sudan, and we can say that Sudan is an important for Egyptian market, and for like we can say organic, use Egyptian one. For organic, for rainforest, for other certifications, we use Egyptian system. But for local consumption, I think we can use Sudan sesame because it's cheaper and it's lower quality, but it's okay. It can be worked.
Thank you. Jane, another interesting question which has come up is the western side of China, which was catered through the border trade of Vietnam. Now that border trade is limited, feeding that zone of the Chinese economy through Qingdao is probably expensive. Do you see a second gateway being created anywhere, or do you think the trade will continue to move from Qingdao by a road or by a train to those destinations?
Yeah, currently, if the COVID stay stable situation, then it's another talk. But today, the more cases are being reported from multiple provinces in China. So we are not sure that the border will reopen, and when will it reopen. And in another thing is that we have seen some Myanmar sesame export directly and by the CV and import from Qingdao. So that if the cost allowed and the market, I mean the preference is there, it can go through the high sea to come to Qingdao port.
Thank you. That was insightful. Mihir, I have a question for you. In India, for the hulling industry that we import, we usually need the cheapest origin to come into India, and probably we are almost competing with the oil industry for that kind of a seed. With problems in Sudan, and as you've shown the data, Sudan is one of the biggest supplier for us. How do you see that panning out with problems in Sudan? Will shipments be deferred away, or will India be looking at another origin? And which origin do you think you have in mind for a cheaper product?
Yes, for this year, it's very difficult for India to have any import parity. That's what I'm assuming, like looking at the current prices of Indian market. I think Indian market is would be able to export at this current date at around 1630 Sodix quality to China. So in that prices, like importing from any other origin doesn't make sense at this point of time. But as soon as we keep on progressing towards the end of the year and into the next year, what I think is the Indian prices would keep on moving up because of the short crop, and maybe the prices of the origins might stay stable, might come down. But eventually what would happen is Indian prices would move above the other origin prices, like maybe let's say Nigeria or other origins. And eventually the import would come for the local, because the local demand has to be covered anyway. And export also needs to be done. So because of that, I think this year, the import is not possible. Like next year, I think there would be good import. And as for the alternative origins, there are currently freight issues throughout the world. Like last year, if you can see, Brazil had supported a lot to India, and shipments from which were contracted last year came into India till I think maybe let's say June, I think of this year. Okay. So, but this year the problem is that the freight issues and everything is quite too much. So the to ship from other origins to India is becoming more and more difficult. But I think eventually things might settle down, things might get better. The logistics situation overall, I think, should get better. So at that time, India would start importing again, and because they have to cover up the short crop that they have of this winter crop. So that's what I have in mind. And alternative to Sudan, I think the route from Egypt to, like, eventually I think Sudan cannot hold on to, like, not export. I think the ports would open up soon. Either the ports would open up soon, or maybe an alternative route would be decided. But whatever crop Sudan has, they would eventually need to export, because the Sudan itself needs to import things as well, right? So to get the money inside the country, they would need to definitely export it out of country. They cannot themselves use the crop locally. So they eventually have to figure out a way, maybe through Egypt, maybe through some other country port, but they have to eventually ship out to other regions. So I think Sudan might open up soon. Meanwhile, I think Nigeria, some imports have already happened to India, but at a lower range. And even in the higher range, they will keep on happening at like some small import quantity would still keep on happening as and when in prices move up.
Thank you so much. And you're correct. I mean, you can lock up cities, but you can't lock up business. Business needs to go on. And with this, I'm on the last question. This is from Krishnan Iyer, directed to Mr. David Buttrey again. And what do you see the impact of Brexit into Britain imports, and how long would you go if offered, or long or short?
Thank you, Mukul. Yes, Brexit. I guess there's two sides to this story. There's the British reaction to it, and of course the EU situation as well. So consumption levels are remaining unchanged, and the quality, importantly, the quality demands of the UK market remain as per the EU demands. That's a message that I'd really like to get across to all participants, to understand that the EU requirements have been adopted by the UK. In terms of movement of cargo from EU into the UK, well, it's had its problems early on, and perhaps they were well reported, and likewise returning cargoes into the EU also. But actually situations have calmed. Cargo is moving more freely now. We're suffering with a truck driver shortage here in the UK. But actually, I think that's a situation, logistics, that are troubling pretty much every nation in some way or shape or form. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much once again. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Jane, and all the other gentlemen on the panel. It was insightful and lovely speaking to you as always. Thank you for this platform, Mr. Srivastava. It's always an honor to be associated with the World Sesame Conference. Hope the audience had a good time and an insightful one too. We can't wait for the next one. Hopefully it will be a physical where we can share a drink after all the hard work that you do. Thank you, everybody. That's from me. I'm done speaking. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukul, and thank you to all the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You have done a fantastic job. The question answer session was fantastic, and the insights which came out from this discussion were simply fabulous. And also special thanks to our delegate from Shad for coming impromptu and sharing your perspective, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.